Did you know there's a place on Earth where trees can actually make rain? Every drop of water that evaporates from the leaves falls back down as rain right onto the very forest that produced it. Over 400 billion trees in the Amazon aren't just trees, they're living weather machines. This is the largest rainforest on the planet, spanning 9 South American countries. The Amazon River that shares its name cuts through the heart of the forest, carrying 15% of the world's freshwater. But what makes this place truly special? It's home to 1/10 of all known species on Earth, from massive black caimans to giant river otters nearly 2 meters long, and jaguars that hunt across every layer of the forest. Deep in these woods, hundreds of indigenous tribes still live without contact with the outside world. And every day that passes, the sounds of nature here are being drowned out by chainsaws and fire. Now, we're stepping into what many call the lungs of the planet to ask ourselves, are we really listening to what it's trying to tell us? Two uncontacted tribes still live deep inside Yasuni, in parts of the forest few outsiders ever reach. They hunt and fish exactly as their ancestors did, refusing all contact with the modern world. That kind of isolation is possible because of where Yasuni sits, right at the point where the Andes, the equator, and the Amazon basin all meet. One hectare of forest here holds more tree species than the entire continent of North America, and the animal life keeps pace with it. Jaguars, giant otters, and 13 different species of primate all share this stretch of rainforest, more primate species than almost anywhere else on Earth. Some researchers trace that abundance back to the last ice age, when much of the Amazon flooded, but Yasuni's higher ground stayed dry. Species that vanished elsewhere survived here instead, and kept evolving in isolation for thousands of years. Underneath all that life sits something else entirely, one of Ecuador's largest untapped oil reserves. For years, the government tried a different kind of deal, offering to leave the oil in the ground if the world paid for it. The offer failed, and drilling moved forward anyway. In 2023, Ecuadorians were asked to decide the question themselves, and almost 60% voted to leave the oil where it was. Now, before we move on to the next destination, here's a fun question for you. Which of these countries does the Amazon River not flow through? Comment your answer below. The Suriname River doesn't actually belong to the Amazon watershed at all. It drains its own separate basin straight to the Atlantic. But the rainforest crowding both of its banks is unmistakably Amazonian, thick and unbroken all the way from Brazil. Jaguars move through those trees alongside tapirs and 8 different species of monkey. Overhead, scarlet macaws and harpy eagles share the same canopy found deep inside the Amazon basin itself. That overlap isn't a coincidence. Suriname sits on the Guiana Shield, one of the planet's oldest surfaces of exposed rock. Even so, its forest reads almost like a direct extension of the Amazon rather than something separate. Species lists barely change from one side of the border to the other. For centuries, communities descended from escaped enslaved Africans have lived along the river's upper stretches, reachable mostly by dugout canoe. Within a few hours by boat, the current picks up over granite outcrops and the forest closes back in. Pink river dolphins surface occasionally in the slower stretches, animals more associated with the Amazon proper than with this river. Geographically, the Suriname River sits outside the Amazon, but almost everything living in it and around it says otherwise. The world is full of amazing places waiting to be discovered. Subscribe and let's explore them together. What started as a tiny indigenous settlement in the 1600s is now Manaus, a sprawling city of over 2 million people deep in the heart of the Amazon. The city is located at the meeting point of the Rio Negro and Solimões rivers, where the two differently colored waters flow side by side for miles before eventually merging. It creates a fascinating natural phenomenon known as the meeting of the waters. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Manaus experienced a golden age thanks to the rubber boom, when the city became one of the wealthiest places in the world. This prosperous period left behind many magnificent architectural landmarks, most notably the Amazon Theater, a splendid opera house built in a European style amid the tropical rainforest. Construction materials for this theater, from Italian marble to French stained glass, were transported all the way from Europe across thousands of kilometers of waterways. After the rubber industry declined due to competition from plantations in Southeast Asia, Manaus went through a period of stagnation lasting several decades. In the 1960s, the Brazilian government established the Manaus Free Trade Zone to revitalize the local economy, attracting electronics and manufacturing industries. The city is an important industrial center while still serving as the main gateway for visitors to explore the Amazon rainforest. The port of Manaus is bustling with boats, handling both commercial activities and ecotourism trips that take visitors deep into the jungle. If you enjoyed this journey, you can support the channel with a small coffee hero. Your support helps me keep creating more travel videos like this. Thank you so much. Few people know that the boundary between two rivers can be seen clearly from satellites in space. It's one of the few natural phenomena visible from orbit. The Rio Negro originates in Colombia, while the Solimões comes from the Andes. They meet near Manaus, and their waters run side by side without mixing for miles. The difference in water density, with the Rio Negro being warmer and lighter compared to the cooler and sediment-heavy Solimões, is why the two waters do not immediately mix but continue to flow side by side for a considerable distance. The giant Amazon river otter, an endangered species, sometimes appears near the boundary of the two colored waters, taking advantage of the fish concentrations there as hunting grounds. Indigenous peoples living along the riverbanks have long associated this phenomenon with various legends about the harmonious meeting of water gods. The Amazon manatee, a freshwater-dwelling creature, also moves back and forth between the two waters in search of aquatic vegetation for food. Small tourist boats often stop right at the boundary line, where passengers can feel the temperature difference between the two water currents. The confluence area is also an important waterway, where fishing boats and trading vessels pass daily to transport goods between riverside communities. I'm curious, what time is it where you're watching from? And which country are you joining me from today? 3 giant granite monoliths rise out of the Colombian jungle. They're called Cerros de Mavicure, located in Guinea province, right near the border with Venezuela, in a zone where the Amazon and Orinoco basins meet. These rock formations are estimated to be over 1 billion years old, belonging to the ancient Tepuy terrain, similar to the famous Tabletop Mountains in Venezuela. The tallest of the 3, Cerro Mavicure, stands about 300 meters above the surrounding forest, offering a panoramic viewpoint overlooking the Inirida River and the tropical rainforest stretching to the horizon. The indigenous Puinave community has inhabited this area for generations, regarding these rock mountains as sacred sites tied to their traditional rituals. Macaws and many fruit-eating birds often nest on the sheer cliffs, taking advantage of the rugged terrain to evade ground predators. The Inirida River, flowing at the foot of these mountains, is an important tributary that empties into the Guaviare River and eventually joins the Orinoco system. Although the surrounding vegetation still retains ecological characteristics closely related to the Amazon rainforest, and the whole area acts as a bridge between the Amazon and Orinoco basins, keeping wildlife corridors open across the region. On the banks of the Tapajos River, one of the Amazon's largest and clearest tributaries, sits Alto do Chão, a small village in Pará, Brazil. It's known for its white sand beaches and emerald green waters that look like a tropical coastline, even though it's thousands of kilometers from the sea. During the dry season, from August to December, extensive sandbars emerge along the river, turning the village into an unexpected beach destination deep in the Amazon. The Borari people have lived here for centuries, and their presence is still felt in the village's customs, fishing techniques, and spiritual traditions tied to the forest and rivers. The flooded forests around the area, known as várzea, expand and shrink with the seasons, creating a landscape that changes dramatically every year. From Lago Verde Hill, visitors get a panoramic view of the Tapajos River winding through the jungle, one of the most photographed spots in the region. And despite its growing popularity among tourists, the village has maintained a quiet, laid-back atmosphere, far removed from the busy cities of Brazil. Alto do Chão is often called the Amazonian Caribbean for its beaches, but it's more than that. It's a place where indigenous heritage, river life, and the rhythms of the rainforest still shape everyday existence. Every morning at dawn, hundreds of macaws and parrots line up on a wall of exposed river clay and start eating dirt. It looks strange until you understand their diet. Many of the seeds they eat all day carry natural toxins meant to keep animals away. The clay neutralizes those toxins, and some researchers think it also supplies sodium the birds can't get anywhere else in the forest. Up to 6 macaw species and a dozen kinds of parrot and parakeet show up at the biggest sites. They wait in the treetops first, sometimes for over an hour, before anyone commits to landing on the clay. One bird calling too loudly, or the shadow of a hawk overhead, and the entire flock scatters at once. Tapirs and peccaries use some of these same clay walls, though never at the same time as the birds. The largest known site sits deep in Tambopata in southeastern Peru, a wall of clay roughly 30 meters high. Local guides know the exact hour each species tends to arrive, almost to the minute. Scientists have been tracking individual birds at some of these licks for decades, tagging chicks before they ever learn to fly. By mid-morning, the wall goes quiet again, and the clay just sits there, waiting for the next dawn. Covering roughly 3 million hectares in southeastern Venezuela, Canaima National Park is one of South America's largest protected areas. It's famous for its ancient tabletop mountains that rise abruptly from the rainforest and savanna below. The largest of these, Oiapoque, is where Angel Falls drops from the misty summit, 979 meters of free fall, making it the tallest waterfall on Earth. The Pemon people have lived here for generations. To them, the Tepuis are sacred, home to spirits and central to their origin stories. The Tepui summits themselves are botanical islands. Millions of years of isolation have created plant life found nowhere else. At the base, the Guianan cock of the rock displays its bright orange feathers. In the lowland forests, jaguars roam through dense vegetation. The Pemon now guide visitors in traditional dugout canoes, taking them along rivers to Angel Falls and other waterfalls in the park. Beyond the famous waterfalls, the park's rivers carve through ancient rock, creating a labyrinth of canyons and rapids that remain largely unexplored. The sheer cliffs of the Tepuis provide nesting sites for many bird species, including the elusive white-throated swift, which nests behind the cascading waters of Angel Falls. And the transition zones between the mountain summits and the lowland forests act as ecological corridors, allowing wildlife to move between different elevations throughout the year. Canaima sits on the ancient Guiana Shield, ecologically connected to the Amazon basin. Its forests are still relatively intact. Harpy eagles and other large birds of prey continue to hunt here, a sign that this corner of South America remains wild. The Amazon and the Tapajos run side by side here for miles without mixing, one the color of coffee, the other blue. The two rivers differ enough in temperature and density that they resist blending into each other. Eventually, they merge into one, but only after drifting alongside each other for kilometers past Santarém. Portuguese Jesuits founded the town right at that junction in 1661. It replaced an earlier settlement of the Tapajos people, who gave the river its name long before Europeans arrived. Centuries later, a different set of newcomers arrived, Confederate families who left the United States after losing the Civil War. A handful of their descendants still live in the region today. Now Santarém runs on a different trade entirely. It's become one of the busiest soybean ports in the Amazon, loading grain onto ships bound for Europe and China. That trade has made the port a flashpoint, with indigenous communities occupying it more than once to protest deforestation. From the waterfront, the grain terminals and the old colonial church end up sitting almost within sight of each other. Downriver, the two-colored water keeps flowing past it all, still refusing to mix. Would you take a boat tour in Santarém? Comment 1 for yes, or 2 if you'd rather explore on land. Home to hundreds of waterfalls, Presidente Figueiredo is a small Brazilian municipality north of Manaus whose rugged granite terrain and cascading crystal-clear waters have made it a top ecotourism destination in the Amazon. Iracema Waterfall and Pedra Furada Waterfall are among the most famous sites, attracting visitors with their crystal-clear waters plunging into natural rock pools surrounded by dense jungle. The rugged terrain, featuring numerous limestone caves, is also characteristic of the area, with the Refugio do Maruaga cave considered one of the largest cave systems in the Amazon region. Settler farmers who have lived here since the mid-20th century make their living mainly through small-scale farming and are increasingly shifting toward ecotourism as visitor numbers to the waterfalls grow year by year. Poison dart frogs, with their characteristic bright colors, are commonly found in the moist leaf litter near streams, representing some of the region's most diverse amphibians. The ecological role of Presidente Figueiredo lies in protecting the headwaters of numerous small streams that feed into the Amazon River system, helping to regulate water supply for the vast downstream region. We gather info from many sources. If something seems off or you've got more to add, drop a comment. Nicknamed the City of Palm Trees, Tarapoto is a municipality in the San Martin region of northern Peru, located in the transition zone between the Andes Mountains and the Amazon Rainforest. Its average elevation of about 350 meters above sea level gives the city a milder climate compared to the lowland Amazon plains, although the surrounding vegetation still retains the dense characteristics of tropical rainforest. The Ahuashiyaku Waterfall, located not far from the city center, is a famous destination with water cascading from a height of about 40 meters amid lush green forest surroundings. The indigenous Quechua Lamista community has lived in this area for generations, preserving traditional knowledge of medicinal plants and spiritual rituals linked to the rainforest, most notably the ayahuasca ceremonies that have attracted international research interest. Lake Sauce, a large freshwater lake near Tarapoto, is home to numerous waterbirds and is also a popular destination for water-based recreational activities for both locals and tourists. Have you ever seen a river that looks like it was painted by hand? Reds, yellows, greens, blues, all swirling together in the water. It sounds like something out of a dream, but it's real, and it's called Caño Cristales. Deep in Colombia, tucked between the Andes, the Amazon, and the grasslands, this river puts on a color show that lasts only a few months a year. And the secret behind it all? A tiny plant clinging to billion-year-old rock. The river's colors, reds, yellows, greens, and blues, come from an aquatic plant called Macarenia clavigera. It grows on the rocky riverbed between June and November when the water level drops. The bedrock here is ancient, part of the same geological formation as the Tepuy Mountains in the Guiana region. It creates natural rock pools, small waterfalls, and basins along the river. In the nearby town of La Macarena, indigenous communities and settler families once relied mostly on farming. Over the past 2 decades, ecotourism has grown as more people come to see the five-colored river. The area sits at the meeting point of the Amazon, Andes, and Orinoco ecosystems, making it one of the most biodiverse places on the continent. Access to the park is strictly controlled to protect the delicate plant that gives the river its colors. Despite growing tourism, the river remains one of the few truly pristine river ecosystems left. You can't drive to Iquitos. No roads lead here. It's the largest city in the world that's completely cut off from the road network, reachable only by river or by air. It sits deep in the Peruvian Amazon, right where the Marañón and Ucayali rivers meet to form the Amazon itself. During the rubber boom of the late 19th century, Iquitos was a wealthy city. That era left behind European-style buildings with Portuguese ceramic tiles, most famously the Casa de Fierro, an iron house believed to be designed by Gustave Eiffel. Nearby, indigenous Bora and Yagua communities still live along the riverbanks, holding on to some traditional rituals even as modern life creeps in. Pink river dolphins are common in the confluence area, one of the best places in Peru to spot them. The Baleen Floating Market, built on stilts over the water, is where locals trade fish, forest fruits, and medicinal herbs. It's a constant reminder of how deeply life here is tied to the river. Around the city, small conservation centers care for rescued sloths and monkeys before releasing them back into the wild. Iquitos has also become a hub for scientific research. Many international organizations have set up stations here to study the upper Amazon. And while giant anacondas and black caimans do inhabit the surrounding swamps, you're unlikely to run into one unless you're on a guided excursion with an experienced naturalist. The Amazon River starts as meltwater from the Andes in Peru. It's the longest and largest river in the world by volume, flowing through 7 countries before reaching the Atlantic in Brazil. Its basin covers about 7 million square kilometers, nearly 40% of South America, and supplies 20% of the freshwater entering the world's oceans. The river is home to the giant river turtle, which can weigh over 60 kilograms and nests in large colonies along sandy riverbanks. The electric eel, capable of generating up to 600 volts of electricity, hunts in the murky waters of the river's slower tributaries. Hundreds of indigenous communities speaking dozens of languages have lived here for thousands of years. They know the land, farming, fishing, and using medicinal plants from the forest. During flood season, water levels rise over 10 meters in some places, submerging vast areas of forest and creating temporary lakes where fish like the tambaqui, a fruit-eating fish, feast on fallen seeds and nuts. The Amazon is more than just a river. The surrounding rainforest helps regulate rainfall and absorbs carbon dioxide for the entire planet. Along the river, communities still depend on it as their main transportation route, moving goods between thousands of settlements. Birds like the jabiru stork, one of the tallest flying birds in the Americas, wade through shallow waters along the riverbanks, hunting for fish and small reptiles in the flooded grasslands. Hidden in the mist of Peru's Amazonas region, Gocta Waterfall was virtually unknown to the outside world until 2005. But locals had known about it for centuries. At 771 meters tall, it's one of the highest waterfalls on Earth, plunging down in 2 main drops through cloud forest, where the Andes meet the Amazon basin. The villages of Cocachimba and San Pablo serve as the main trailheads. The people here still live much as they always have, farming and raising livestock. This is also home to the spectacled bear, the only bear species in South America, occasionally seen moving through the cool mountain forests. Local legend speaks of a mermaid living at the base of the falls, a story that kept people away for generations until modern explorers finally revealed what was there. The trail to the waterfall winds through small coffee plantations, where farmers now welcome trekkers alongside their crops. The surrounding cloud forest plays a crucial role in capturing moisture and feeding the streams that flow into the Amazon basin. And in this narrow strip of mountain forest, unique species, like the orange-feathered Andean rockcock and other endemic birds, are found nowhere else on Earth. Flowing from the mountainous region of southern Peru, the Ucayali River is one of the two main headwater tributaries that form the Amazon River, merging with the Marañón River near the city of Nauta to create the main Amazon Channel. The river is approximately 1,771 kilometers long, meandering through the lowland Amazon plains, with countless bends and oxbow lakes formed by the continuous shifting of its course over the centuries. Indigenous Shipibo-Canibo communities have lived along both banks of the river for generations, renowned for their traditional geometric patterned art on ceramics and textiles. The city of Pucallpa, located on the riverbank, is an important commercial and transportation hub, connecting the Amazon rainforest region with other parts of Peru via both waterways and roads. Local fishermen still use traditional fishing methods with nets and spears to harvest the diverse fish stocks from the Ucayali River, including many species found only in this river system. Anavilhanas is one of the most famous national parks in Brazil, located in the state of Amazonas. This national park comprises the second-largest river archipelago in the world, with hundreds of islands of various sizes scattered along the Rio Negro River. The area of Anavilhanas covers approximately 350,000 hectares, creating a diverse and rich ecosystem. This is a transitional zone between the Amazon rainforest and the intricate river system, forming a unique landscape found nowhere else. During the high water season, most of the islands become submerged, creating the characteristic flooded forest known as Igapo. Conversely, during the low water season, white sandbars and small channels become clearly visible, offering a completely different scene. Anavilhanas is home to countless rare species of flora and fauna, including the Amazon river dolphin, manatees, and many endemic bird species. The vegetation here is also extremely diverse, with thousands of different tree species adapted to seasonal flooding conditions. The Rio Negro, which flows through the national park, has a distinctive black water color due to the large amount of organic matter decomposed from the surrounding vegetation. Because of this, the river water, though dark in color, is actually very clear and slightly acidic. Tambopata National Reserve stretches along the Tambopata and Madre de Dios rivers. It's considered one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Over 1,200 butterfly species have been recorded at a single research site here. The reserve covers more than 270,000 hectares of protected lowland rainforest, making it one of the largest conservation areas in southeastern Peru. Its location at the transition between the Andean foothills and the Amazon basin creates a unique mixing zone, where species from both ecosystems converge. The Tambopata and Madre de Dios rivers also play a crucial role as natural waterways. Macaws gather in large flocks at riverbank clay cliffs known as kalpas. They eat the clay to neutralize toxins from unripe fruits and seeds. The Eja people have lived along the Tambopata for generations, now blending traditional hunting with guiding visitors at forest lodges. Capybaras, the world's largest rodents, are commonly seen grazing along the riverbanks and oxbow lakes within the reserve, often gathering in small family groups. In the canopy, giant trees and rare orchids create a layered habitat for countless species. International research stations in the area monitor climate change and its effects on primary rainforest. Spider monkeys and howler monkeys move noisily through the treetops, often heard long before they're seen. Tambopata's role in preserving genetic resources is growing in recognition as new species continue to be discovered here every year. Though it marks the border between Brazil and French Guiana, the Oiapoque River is far more than a political line. Flowing about 400 kilometers to the Atlantic Ocean. Its upper reaches lie in the Tumucumake mountain range, where pristine forests remain largely untouched. Indigenous Caripuna and Galibi Marwarno peoples have lived along the river for generations, sustaining themselves through traditional fishing and farming. At the estuary, freshwater mixes with saltwater, creating a unique habitat for river dolphins and Amazonian manatees. On the Brazilian side, the town of Oiapoque is a busy border crossing point, with locals regularly traveling by small boats for trade and family visits. The Tumucumake National Park, one of the world's largest tropical reserves, protects much of the upper river area, sheltering jaguars and many endemic bird species. The dense forests along both banks help regulate water flow and prevent soil erosion. In the quieter, deeper stretches, black caimans, among South America's largest reptiles, can still be found. However, illegal gold mining upstream has raised concerns about mercury pollution, threatening both the water supply and the health of indigenous communities. The Amazon River isn't born as the Amazon. It starts where two rivers meet in northern Peru, the Marañón and the Ucayali. Right in the triangle between them, before they merge, sits Pacaya Samiria National Reserve. Covering over 2 million hectares, it's the largest protected flooded forest in Peru and the second largest protected area in the entire Amazon. For half the year, the whole reserve floods. The forest floor turns into still water that reflects the trees above, which is why it's known as the Jungle of Mirrors. When the water recedes during the dry season, it leaves behind a network of lagoons and channels that shape life here. Local communities have lived within the reserve for generations. Their involvement has been key to reducing illegal hunting and fishing, making Pacaya Samiria a success story in community-based conservation. The reserve also holds significant archaeological value, with ceramic fragments and burial sites scattered across the higher ground, remnants of pre-Columbian civilizations that once inhabited this area. And for those who venture deep into its flooded forests, the experience is unlike anywhere else in the Amazon. Traveling by canoe through submerged trees, where the boundary between water and sky blurs beneath the mirrored canopy. It was once known as a hotspot of armed conflict, but in recent years it's quietly reinvented itself as a gateway for ecotourism. The city sits along the Guaviare River, an important tributary of the Orinoco system. The landscape around it is a transition zone, where savanna gives way to Amazon rainforest. Not far from the city is the Serranía de la Lindosa, famous for thousands of ancient rock paintings. Some are believed to be over 10,000 years old, depicting now extinct animals like mammoths and giant sloths. Another nearby attraction is Ciudad de Piedra, a sandstone formation carved into strange shapes by wind and water over millions of years. Most locals here make their living from farming and cattle ranching, though more and more are turning to ecotourism. The area's archaeological and ecological importance is slowly gaining recognition as it holds some of the earliest evidence of human presence in South America. For years, this region was defined by conflict. But today, local communities are beginning to see that preserving the wild landscape brings more sustainable income than the extraction activities of the past. The Amazon isn't just a forest. It's a world in miniature where everything is connected in ways we still don't fully understand. But every day that passes, we're losing parts of that world, not because nature is changing, but because we're changing it too fast. The question is, will we realize its true value before it's too late?